I'll be demonstrating how we at KIT use multi-sensory stories, which incorporate 3 fun and engaging ways to get children engaged in a group story time. Each multi-sensory story should have 3 components. It should have a visual component, an auditory component, and a kinesthetic component. It's really helpful to have a receptive and expressive piece regarding each of those components. And what that means is we want to have ways for children to respond to what the instructor or the reader is doing, as well as to understand those words or pictures that they're seeing. So the visual component should have a way for children to look at pictures as well as demonstrate or point to pictures. The auditory component should have things that the children hear as well as say or sing. And the kinesthetic component should have places where children can move their bodies and move their fingers. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of pages from Nick Sharratt's Shark in the Park. Shark in the Park is about a little boy named Timmy. Now, if you can see, Timmy here has a brand new, shiny, blue and yellow telescope. This is the perfect opportunity for children to get their fingers and bodies moving. What I'll usually do in my story is ask the children to make 2 circles with their fingers, put them together, and make a telescope over their eyes. At one point in the story, Timmy's going to look up and down and left and right, and they're going to engage their gross motor or kinesthetic body movements. There's another really fun part of the song. This is the auditory component, and it requires us to do a little singing. So we ask the kids to put their fingers out in front, wave those fingers, and the song goes like this. Shark in the park, shark in the park. Beethoven's 5th, by the way. So once we get to that portion of the story, we're going to ask the kids to move their fingers and engage their auditory senses. Now for the visual components, I want you to have the children look at the pictures in the book, but it's really important for them to demonstrate and point to them. Now, if you're using a best practice or any type of early learning-based curriculum, one of the benchmarks for young children in stories is to recall information from a story. So the way that I would engage that skill is by having children take turns pointing to things that they see in the book, like asking, what do you see in the story? Somebody might say, oh, I see a yellow sun. So after the story is finished, I might go around to each of the children and say, think back to what you saw in that story. What did you point to in the park? And they might say, oh, I saw a yellow sun. Once you've done all of these 3 components together, it really keeps the group engaged and excited, and it helps to diminish those challenging behaviors or likelihood that kids will want to wander off. So let's do a short demonstration of Shark in the Park. Down at the park, a little boy is testing out his brand new toy. This is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, Susie, what do you see at the park? And I might walk over and let them point to different pictures in the book. Now we get to the part with the telescope. So I say, Timothy Pope is looking through his, and I'll give them a space, let them see if they can remember telescope. We put our telescopes up on our eyes, just like that. And Timothy is going to look up at the sky, down at the ground. He looks to the left, he looks to the right, and he looks all around. And this is what he sees. Now take a second and ask kids to do some predicting. What do you think Timothy sees through his telescope? Most of the times they're going to say, it's a shark, it's a shark. What a nasty surprise. In his loudest voice, Timothy cries, there's a shark in the park. And then we sing, shark in the park, shark in the park. I have to warn you, they're going to be singing Shark in the Park for the rest of the day. A shark? Oh no. Oh, a shark. Fancy that. It's only a cat. Now, this is another opportunity to get your kids up and moving. So we might ask them to pretend that they have claws on their fingers and paw the ground, or maybe make some sounds that a cat would make. I'd say, hey, what might a big cat sound like? What if it were a little cat? The story goes on to include a crow, where we might have the kids stand up and balance on one foot like a crow. And the story goes on to incorporate Timothy's dad. And this is the part where Timothy's dad says, "It's time to go home, Timothy." And I ask my students to make a really sad face because it's time to go home. And it always ends with Timothy Pope says, "It's safe to say there are no sharks at the park today." Somebody's going to say, but wait, there is a shark. Oh, you see one? You see a shark? Okay, let's see. Get your fingers ready. We're going to count. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to sing one more time. Shark in the park! Shark in the park! And that's how you do a multisensory story called Shark in the Park. Thanks so much. Happy trails.